The bomb squad spent this last week training with the California National Guard, the FBI, EMS, and the hazmat team along with SWAT in order to accomplish an overall interoperability, which is invaluable to our community.
The goal of the exercise was to test your capabilities in regards to a radiation incident. Bringing both teams, the northern and southern team from California, in coordination with the local responders. There was several venues that involved multiple agencies, and from there teams were split up and were identified to respond to a certain situation. The benefit we're all getting out of this is joint coordination. We're learning how each other works. So if, God forbid, something were to happen on site in Monterey, we would all be able to come out here on time and work out effectively and efficiently.
We're going to make sure that they're top-notch trained in case we have a disaster. We're going to make sure that they have the proper equipment to go ahead and help the community.
Our participation in Quiet Glow 2, we had a scenario where the subject who was making these bombs or had bomb-making materials left some of the scenes. They had acquired information and they wanted us to serve a search warrant on a place he was located. As the scenario progressed, we made entry. We only located his girlfriend and another occupant in that residence, and then allowed our hostage negotiation team, who also does a lot of interviewing of people after we detain them, to use their skills in interview and interrogation to try to extract the information that was given to the role players and try to get that information and have a second part of the scenario where we would again do another search warrant looking for the subject. Had to go through their steps of getting some intel on the residents. They had to make an approach on the residents without being seen by the role players who were actively looking out and around to make sure that the SWAT team wasn't detected, and then make their entry. Upon entry, and the scenario was written that the subject would flee into a neighboring apartment. There were adjoining apartments, and take a neighbor, just happened to be next door, hostage.
Hurry up! I want your people on the road behind this building off of it, or she's dead. There's 3 of them. I'm watching them right now. If they don't move now, she's dead.
That's where they had to do hasty planning. They had to come up with a plan that allowed for a quick assault on the targets. Containment so the subject didn't get away, and then once they made entry, they ran into resistance with actual role players who they really didn't know. They didn't know these role players. Some were from the military, some were from the sheriff's office, and allow them to deal with these people. And then the hostage negotiation team would have to actually interview them and use their skills to get the information. If they didn't do a good job, they weren't going to get the information.
Once the objectives were met from the incident commander, people were able to stand down and stand by for a next mission. Today is a continuation of what was completed on Tuesday. Everyone is now who was split before has now come together.
With the knowledge of radiological contamination, we had to call in the hazmat team, and we also had to call in the bomb squad, which is where we fit in, and we're able to operate in that environment and render safe devices while protecting ourselves with the hazmat equipment. So we're able to go in and take care of those, render safe these devices. So then the hazmat can come in, decontaminate the victims, and then eventually get treated at the hospital.
For the purpose of this exercise, yes, these were casualties that were what they called the walking wounded. They were able to be escorted to the decon apparatus behind me. The SURF-P element, which specializes in mass decon, as well as other things, were able to guide the walking wounded through their decontamination process. Once they go through the process, which is the showers or whatever they decide is needed, they come out hopefully clean, they get checked again, and then they're able to escort the casualties, victims, whoever may need it, into further care.
The bomb squad isn't just, we don't just render safe devices, we also are hazmat technicians. So that's a part of our job most people don't realize. So it's one of those scenarios where, do you call in hazmat where there's a possible bomb? They're not trained for that. So what the nation's done is they've built up their bomb teams so they're able to perform in hazardous material situations. So this is why these exercises are important, where it's one of those unusual situations where we're called in and we put on our hazmat gear and we can operate, in this case, a radiological exercise where this was the danger. So we're the guys you call, we can mitigate the radiation exposure, work within it, and also mitigate and render safe the possible explosive devices.
It's a lot better for them to practice this in that environment and use these skills instead of go cold out into the community where they haven't tried these things or they haven't run into problems that they can run into out there and then see the value of, say, we need to change our tactics or approach it a different way to have a better outcome.
Monterey County is very, very well blessed by having a lot of specialized teams that are very well trained. We're very blessed to have some Homeland Security funding coming in to go ahead and help and offset the budget cost as far as backfill and overtime. That's also mandated by Homeland Security that we test equipment that we pay for with Homeland Security federal dollars. So that meets one of the objectives. We also have milestones in Homeland Security grant funding that we promise to go ahead and exercise X amount of time per year, so that also meets our milestone. And it also fills the gap on where is the gap missing as far as what haven't we've done. And we identify them at the beginning, and then we go ahead and meet the gaps to make the community whole.
The second half of the scenario, when they had to do a hasty planning, they ran into a situation where the guy actually left one apartment and made his way through a crawl space into another apartment. So it made them change their tactics instantly on the fly. I mean, that could happen anytime if we hit an apartment building here. And a lot of my team members have never run into a scenario like that. We wanted to throw that in to see how they would react, and they reacted very well. They knew to fall back on their training, lock down that apartment building, and then contain the entire building and limit the suspect's movements, and then bring in the hostage negotiation team, and also allow them to use skills like deploying the throw phone and the techniques of doing that. Some of my members haven't even done that before in a live situation. Now we've got the practice of really doing it, and they can see the bumps in the road they're going to run into, like the cord gets in the way or wrapped around somebody's leg, or it actually takes 2 guys to deploy the phone along with several guys covering that team so they're not shot while they're doing it. So it's great, because if they go out in the middle of the night on a call tonight, now they have the practice, hey, this is what we did last time, and they know what to avoid. It'll help them.
The Incident Response Terrorism Training course was a 4-hour block of instruction. It was perfect for this, where you do have subject matter experts. You do have new members also within the unit. So it was a review for the experts, and it was brand new training to their newest members. And it all came together, and it was a perfect class for what we set out to do for the whole week. Get everybody in the right frame of mind.
When a disaster happens, it then is not the time to go ahead and try to figure out, you know, what the specialized equipment can do. During training, they can go ahead and test it. Perfect example, we had some mass gas that we hadn't used for a while, and they were actually leaking. In a real life situation, that would have been very, very disastrous, because they would have inhaled some type of chemicals. So we learned that from the last exercise.
A large portion of this money that paid for the backfill and overtime for us to conduct this exercise came from the local Homeland Security funds that we get through OES. They're distributed through to the different departments in the county. It not only gives us the money for this type of training through the exercises that we do, but it also gives us the equipment that we need. Some of these dollars pay for the equipment that we use and day to day that we couldn't afford to pay for as an agency. So these dollars are distributed throughout the county in different agencies for that equipment, and then we have a chance to use them in these exercises that we try to have at least once a year, if not twice, different types of exercises in the county. And it brings all these teams together, and they work together as one instead of having individual trainings that we never see each other until an actual catastrophe happens. Now we have the experience of working together, communicating together, the logistics, and plus we get the FaceTime, and we know each other, we know who the leaders are, and we know what to expect when we have a big incident.
If we had a train derailment, if we had, which we have had, radiological sources be stolen, I believe it was off a survey crew truck at one point, probably 10 years ago. These are all components, and they're all very realistic. Although unusual and not an everyday occurrence, they certainly do occur, and it's incumbent upon us to be willing and able to train with our partners. Not one agency is able to take care of the problem by itself. So bringing everybody together, learning how to work together, what their capabilities are, just makes us all safer.